in channel development at Enron, and I think I know pretty much all of you here, and I look forward to meeting those who I don't know. But what I wanted to do is spend not too much time. I have an hour, and I definitely don't need an entire hour, which you're excited about. Just go through kind of the stuff that we're working on as a team here and let y'all know who's doing what and talk about some of the programs that we've introduced, and love to have this a dialogue and get your feedback on it, and just kind of go from there, okay? So the quick agenda, what I'd wanted to talk about is, an organization of folks on the team. So you, the people in the field, know who to go to. Who do you call if there's a problem, right? And I think pretty much the people who are on my team are here for now. Review some of the media programs that we put in place, right? And also talk about a new program that we have with around encoding and acquisition partners that we can extend out to some of our content customers. And then spend some time on enterprise programs and to see how we envision making sales into an enterprise and how the interactions with channel programs and sales and our partners would take place there. That's a little bit further out. It's more of a projection than we're having to deal with now, but it's worthwhile going through. So basically, the organization is pretty simple. It's marketing and channel development. We have a group that's going to be responsible for enterprise programs. That's working with the enterprise and getting our services sold into an enterprise. Content services are facilitating that with programs getting sold in the enterprise. So content services like for an enterprise wanting to host all their corporate training using MediaCast, or they wanted to use video conferencing, or they're wanting to connect their e-commerce application to the EIN so that it works better. That's enterprise programs. That's Teresa Reedman. Teresa, raise your hand. Everybody see Teresa? That's Teresa Reedman, and she's responsible for that. If you have any enterprise questions around enterprise marketing or programs, Teresa, call her. She has a cell phone and everything like that. Media programs are programs we're going to put together for the media business. Obviously, those are the biggest cast and transport customers right now, and it's mostly looking at how we support resellers of these services and their efforts to getting media cast and transport customers. That position right now is going to be filled by Lisa Hanna. Lisa Hanna is not here right now. She actually starts next week. But she comes to us from Tektronix and with a media background, and is really going to help out there. Then there's sort of this market development bucket. Market development is all about figuring out where do we go next. Where do we put network? Who do we connect to in that network? Who are our customers there? And they're sort of like, if we think of all of us as kind of like the infantry, they're sort of the early stage scouts that figure out what are the good opportunities to go to. Should we go to Memphis or not? If we do, what are the right products to bring there? Who are the customers in Memphis that we'd want to be talking to? Setting up some appointments with those customers. Using a lot of the GIS tools, which I'll talk about in a second, to figure out where customers are demographically and where we want to strategically, like around the world, where we want to build out our network to, and then launching markets once we're there. Letting people know that we're about that. So there's a market development organization. There's in the Americas. We have a person starting in a couple weeks for that. There's a person in Europe who we have an offer to, and Asia Pacific is going to be a little bit further out, but that's also in the plan as well. And then from a technology program standpoint, we have two groups of technology programs. One is online programs, and Holly Bradford Nelson, Holly, raise your hand again, is responsible for all of Enron's online programs, meaning Enron.net, which is our website, and ePower Online, which is the extranet. So anything that has to do with if you don't like our website or you love our website, call Holly. If you don't like the extranet or you love the extranet, call Holly as well. And so she's driving all of that and is going to be doing a lot of really interesting things there where she's thinking about a lot of automation types of tools and really driving marketing automation on the website. So there's a lot of things there. Holly comes to us from Intel, by the way, where she built all their e-commerce systems online. So she has a lot of good background there. And then GIS programs. GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. It's a way to take database information, a lot of information about addresses and demographics and things like that, and actually plot them geographically on a map so we know exactly where that customer exists. What is the address of that customer, and what sort of fiber did that customer, what kind of internet connectivity does that customer have? Is it DSL, is it T1, is it DS3? And also know who's the CLEC who services that customer. We'll know where the banks are, the financial institutions with greater than 100 people are, where their physical address is, so that we can order circuits into them. And we'll know, which cities have the highest concentrations of cardiac care centers, so that when we want to do e-powered telemedicine, for example, we need to go to those cities. So Laura Benville, Laura, raise your hand, is responsible for our GIS programs. The first example of that GIS program that you saw was e-powered locator, a thing that Holly demonstrated that helps customers find ISPs. So this is a customer-facing application, and it's an internal application, and we're going to be building that stuff as well. So if you have any ideas around how to use that, how GIS stuff would be of help. If you want to find customers faster, then call Laura. Everybody has a cell phone, and everybody here is on email, and all these guys, we all check email religiously. Okay. So the next thing we want to talk about is just media programs. And this is some programs we put together specifically for MediaCast. We haven't done much with transport yet for some good reasons. But there are, well, just because there are fewer customer opportunities for transport. So, yeah. So you don't necessarily need it's a targeted list of customers for transport. So, but for MediaCast, there's a lot of potential customers out there. A lot of people thinking about webcasting out there, right? There's not only the ABC News of the world, but there are, Joe's Bait Shop of the world who might be interested in streaming. And it doesn't make sense for us to be calling on Joe's Bait Shop. We have 5 or 6 of us here who are actually doing MediaCast calls. So what we want to do is actually develop an indirect channel, a way where we can recruit folks who work for us, who represent us into these accounts, right? And we have 3 tiers right now of indirect channel for content providers, for MediaCast, right? And we did not, by the way, when we created these, it wasn't our waking up one morning and suddenly saying, this is the way it has to be. We actually looked at what Cisco does. We looked at what some of our competition like Interview does. And we tried to build some programs that allowed companies to progress up the line. And so the expectation is that there are partners of ours who would fit into one of these channels, right? And one of these programs, and not all of them, not the highest level. So just to talk about them, and I'll start from the lowest level up to the top. There's a referral program. A referral program is really simple. We sign them up to a real easy agreement, and they refer deals to us, to our salespeople. So if I'm a MediaCast salesperson and I get somebody signed up as a referral, what happens is that they'll refer a deal to me. If I close that deal, then they're entitled to a percentage of the revenue from that. And it's just stipulated in the contract. It's real simple. It's all they are. They're all sort of a lead generation vehicle for us. And it's just a real easy way for people who are excited about working with us to get involved at a ground level, right? This is really good for ISPs, for example, and other types of companies who probably aren't in the content business per se, but are interested in sort of understanding more about us and working with us and potentially deriving a revenue stream from that, right? So it's an entry-level program for early-stage companies or non-content companies who have access to content types of organizations who can actually provide us value in getting us into an account, right? Level 3, for example, they're not a content company at all, but they have connectivity and access to a lot of content originator companies. They're a good referral type of company. Just about most of the ISPs that we have right now are a good referral type of partner. Okay? The next step up is a representative, right? And a representative is one who would actually can co-brand our service if they like, and can take an Enron contract into an account and actually work on that contract with the account and have it executed as well, right? So they are actually closing a sale for us, a representative is. And it's not like a referral where they're just giving us a lead. They're actually bringing us a customer, right? A representative would get paid for that, compensated, as well, a little, obviously more than a referral agent would. And that is actually a step up because we're giving them some co-branding. We're actually expecting them to go into a customer and close a sale, right, for us, and then giving us that customer. So an example of a representative would be a company who is doing some content services, who has a sales force, who has plans of making a sales force. Maybe an ISP, for example, who has been doing this kind of stuff for a while. An Exodus, for example, has data centers. They work in the content business. They could be a good example of a representative if they wanted to. Maybe an ISP who has been in the referral business, has had success at referrals, and who wants to get into representing our services more directly, can take a step up in compensation, would be a good transition for a representative. And then they have opportunities for some co-branding, but it's somebody who has shown some interest and dedication to the business, not somebody who just says, hey, oh, by the way, this sounds cool, I want to do it. It's somebody who says, yes, I've been in the business, I'm making a commitment to it, I'm forming an organization around it, and I can be a representative. Right? And then finally, the very top tier of this service is a reseller. A reseller are organizations that have established businesses in content aggregation, in website development, in encoding, and acquisition. That they've been around the block. They have support organizations, and they know how to sell this. What happens there is that they can private label the service entirely themselves. We sell to them at a wholesale price, and then they can mark it up at a retail price. But go ahead.
I was just going to ask, when you say private label, would we not get any branding in that instance?
It would be private labeled. It's not. We would not necessarily get any branding. And but again, that is clearly the elite status of it. RBN, for example, is a reseller. Broadcast.com, if Mark Cuban called me tomorrow and I had to give him a program, they could be a reseller, if we didn't see that as a conflicting with our direct sales force. But all of these people, a reseller is not for everyone. The first pitch that when we go into most accounts is definitely not, hey, let me sign you up as a reseller. It's, hey, it's probably, for 80% of the accounts, it's probably, hey, we have a representative or referral type of agreement that might work for you all. And if and if we, after some due diligence, look and see that, hey, they have an organization, it's a few hundred people, to support webcasting, then reseller might be the right one.
Can I just make a comment? I think we should always start at the referral level, because what's coming to me now is several people who, once that reseller representative idea is thrown out, they don't want a one-time replacement. They want that ongoing percentage. So as soon as they see that ongoing percentage, they never want to take that step back to referral. So I think we should always start at referral, and then as we go through and we find out a little more about their business, maybe we want to make them a representative.
Right. So what is the one-time percentage based on?
It's based on, the one-time percentage for referral is based on 10% of months 3 through 6 of a contract. Right. So it provides incentive to a referral agent to give us longer-term contracts. And then for a representative, it's 10% for half of a term of a contract, so it's longer. Gives them a longer. And for a reseller, we sell at a wholesale price, and they make margin on a retail price, what they mark up. Okay. So, as a quiz, let's see. Show Digital is an ISP, which we just signed up. Which program should they go into? Referral, right. Let's think of another one. Encoding.com has 250 people, has been in the business for about 3 years, and it's decided they're looking at some accounts that we're not looking at. Which might be a good program for they to be in?
Reseller.
Right.
Start with referral.
Well, yeah, start with referral, but we'd be willing to look at them as a reseller. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mark.
You haven't mentioned system integrators yet.
No, I haven't. And there's actually that enterprise, we're talking about the organization. This enterprise group is actually, we're starting to talk to systems integrators now and getting them set up as resellers of our services into an enterprise, right? And so we've just begun that. There's a lot of issues there that we're just starting to work out with them, but we've had some initial talks. We're probably going to pilot that in a small scale in Portland. And then representative is somewhere in between, you know. I think there are people who don't want to be resellers because reseller means that you take on the liability of the customer service, whereas representative means that we take on the liability. Enron does. So there are people who don't want to be resellers, and representative is a great program as well. Okay, so what's it going to take to actually manage these channels? There's going to require a channel management and account management type of organization. Right now, that's going to fall upon the sales reps and myself and the media program manager to facilitate that. But account management of the channels right now, as you all know, is falling upon the sales reps' shoulders, all of our shoulders right now. What needs to happen or should happen, this is actually provisioned for in the agreements, are monthly or quarterly meetings with the accounts to define the targeted opportunities. It's actually, you know, I think that can be done on an account-by-account basis. It's your decision as to what, you know, how you want to manage the accounts, either monthly or quarterly. I would encourage monthly meetings at this point, especially if the accounts are accessible, meaning they're in your area. Do it by the phone, do it by email. But account management is going to be important so that we don't have too much overlap. And then, you know, at these meetings, there are going to be some accounts that you do not want channel partners going after, right? Because Rob and Donald are in Disney, you're in Sony, right? And we've signed up Webcast.com in the area, and we don't want them touching them. And then let's say, hey, you know, I want monthly going over an account list with you. Disney and Sony are not on your list, right? And it's actually, there is provision for that in the agreement that says that, you know, the two parties will mutually agree to an account list, right? And that sort of meeting should take place. Yeah, Doug.
I know this is kind of discretionary still. What happens in the case where you do have, say, a reseller that has a better relationship with a specific targeted account that you don't really want them to have, but they have a better relationship? So you really can't, it's kind of like, you know, you can't get in without them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have a better chance of facilitating the deal if we can get it.
Well, I think what I would do is, I think the right thing to do is to use the reseller and protect the reseller. If the reseller brings us into the account, then, you know, we have the account. It's something we can work. You know, it's good enough that we can have that customer. We can talk about that. We can market that. But the reseller is an important, hugely important part of that. And I would not try to circumvent that reseller. I would maintain that relationship with the reseller. I'll also say that, you know, we put together these programs, and there was a good deal of thought around sort of the legal agreements and actually the structure of the programs, but we've not done much marketing around them. We're not PR or anything like that. The website our website that just talks about the programs just launched a couple weeks ago. But I looked at April's deal flow list from a couple weeks ago, and about 55% of the deal flow right now is our indirect programs, right? So there is a lot of latent demand out there and partners who exist for these programs without our doing a lot of marketing. If we, you know, putting some structure around that, putting some marketing into it, I think we can really turn this into something that's actually really valuable to us and are bringing to us a lot of customers.
Just as an aside, with Sun Microsystems, 70% of their sales revenue goes through their value-added resellers and system integrators.
Yeah. And Cisco, as a matter of fact, pays their sales reps 10% more for indirect sales. And so, you know, this is something that we need to consider with Joe and Keith and April on how we want to structure this, but we were talking about that, and I think there's an opportunity. We just need to work more on it. Do y'all want to cover anything more on this?
There's one point. I mean, you started to say that there's really no net loss for the company in selling through indirect channels. It shouldn't, in the case that you were talking about, Doug. I mean, there's really if it helps us get the sale and then we have to go in after the fact and try and manage the account directly, it doesn't really matter. It's still a net gain to us. And it's, you know, we deal with the individual compensation issues as those come up, but those, again, we're not, there's no penalty to any one person for an indirect sale. In fact, they end up getting more revenue pushed through their particular organization. So this is definitely something that we need to look at as a net gain opportunity versus having to reduce our prices because we're giving up a piece of the action because we're going through an indirect channel.
And the only other comment I was going to make, maybe you address it later, as we start moving into these e-commerce platforms and verticals, the way one vertical's handled may not be identical to the way another vertical's handled.
Right.
So this is what we're working at right now, but it's not to say this is the way it'll always be forever. Because in a certain vertical, we may find that one single partner, we're better off going in and attacking the whole market or something to that effect. So.
I was just going to ask if we're working on materials, orientation materials, so the message that our resale partners have is consistent
Yes.
in terms of our products and features.
Yeah, we haven't, that stuff has not existed yet. When Lisa Hanna starts, who's responsible for media programs, she's going to kick out a lot of that stuff. And so I think we have a lot of distribution marketing going on. We have no media marketing going on. We're going to catch up, right? So that will happen, I guarantee it. Okay? Yeah, I think Keith has a good point. You can sign up one reseller and they can bring in 10 accounts, customers. There are resellers out there or representative or referral. Right, there are resellers right now who have customers today, right, who will do all your work for you ostensibly if we can get them signed up. So I think it's an extraordinary opportunity. And these resellers are interested in actually working with us, I've been finding, because we provide, a more competitive service than our competition, like interview and stuff like that. It is a real valuable opportunity.
Well, and as we mentioned yesterday, too, for a lot of things we can't provide a whole package for the customer. So we can get to a sale a lot quicker by using resellers who have the rest of that package and understanding our network into their package.
Right. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is this encoding and acquisition partner programs that Paul Judy, who's not here, put together for us. So the way we sort of figured out the webcasting value chain works, and this is probably no-brainer most of y'all. First, obviously, content must be acquired if it's a live event, for example. After it's acquired, it's got to be encoded. Then hosting and archiving takes place. And then the managed distribution takes place. And then the end users get to see it in a high-quality, rich streaming media point of view. Enron plays really in that middle part of the value chain. That's where our expertise is. That's what we're focusing our resources. That's what we do. That's MediaCast. We then sign up distribution partners who have eyeballs, customers, who then can click on links and actually view it at the desktop in a high quality way. What we want to do then are create partnerships with acquisition and encoding companies such that we can provide value at that and front end of the value chain as well. There are content customers out there who want to webcast but don't necessarily know how to acquire nor how to encode, right? And we need to provide them with a turnkey type of service. And we can do this ourselves via some platinum type of partnerships that we're putting together, right? It might be that Enron Communications decides as an expertise to pull out this way and grow this as an organization. We might buy a company that does that. We might do this entirely, but today we're not. So we need to have, but our customers still want that service. So we're actually putting together partnerships to do that. And we have acquisition types of partners and we have encoding types of partners. So the production partners that we're looking at right now are Webcast Solutions. I think some of y'all have been involved on calls that we've had to them. They may even become a reseller because they have a pretty sophisticated business. And what we're going to do ultimately is they're a specialist in acquisition and encoding services. They would provide us a special price, and we could subcontract them and then provide this service to customers. So we would be the interface between the customers, but for acquisition and things like that, we'd subcontract that service out to Webcast Solutions, right? Jump Cut is another group in New York. I don't know much about them. I know y'all had the first meeting with them last week or the week prior, but they could actually provide acquisition types of services for us, for Enron, in the New York area. Webcast Solutions is actually worldwide as well, so that's why they're an interesting partner there. Okay, and we have agreements out to Webcast Solutions. We're trying to close a contract with them. Hopefully that'll get closed in the next 10 days or so. And then finally, for encoding partners, encoding.com comes to mind as a big one. They would subcontract to us, provide us with discount services, and we could then provide that to our customers as well. These partnerships can endure for a long time, if assuming we want them to. If we ultimately define that we want to build this expertise in-house, we can do that as well. So there's the build versus buy decision we can extend out into the future. But we needed something now, and so we've developed this. You guys have any questions on that? Okay. Now finally, the enterprise programs. This is sort of the more of a blue sky part of what we're going to be talking about. And it's, okay, when we're selling into the enterprise directly, how is it all going to work? Who's selling into the enterprise? And here's how it works, right? I'm going to try not to spend too much time on this. But basically, most of our sales team is up here right now, up here and down here. Is that a lot of y'all are selling to content companies, and you're selling our services directly to content companies, more or less. We're also selling, to distribution partners or developing distribution partners. We actually will make a sell into an ASP, right? Call that a video conferencing ASP or a content ASP. That content ASP will probably, or video or application, ASP is an application service provider, will likely have a channel of their own, either their own salespeople or an indirect channel of their own that will then begin to sell this new stuff that they've had, the e-powered stuff. PictureTel is a great example of this. They have dedicated channels that know how to sell video conferencing gear into an enterprise, right? Those channels then go and sell into an enterprise, right? When that sell gets made into an enterprise, we then bring in, on this side, we bring in an e-powered ISP or an e-powered LEC into that enterprise to provide connectivity into the enterprise, right? And so the way I'm kind of looking at things, and we're developing opportunities here, is that we have a selling channel up here, and then we have a connectivity channel down here. And we're sort of, what we're trying to do is, and the hard part is, frankly, creating a seamless link in between these two so that the enterprise is not calling 17 people. They're calling one person. And so we're trying to make that happen, but this is the model that we're developing to. You can see we have programs in place, obviously, to support a lot of this stuff. And we're going to be going from there. But this is kind of the future as we get more penetration in the enterprise. As April said, as we look at particular vertical markets, this may be more apply more aptly to a particular market, and may apply that there is no need for a indirect channel at all. But this is sort of our template that we're going forward with as we develop products and services for the enterprise and how to get sold in.
Now, is there not a systems integration component?
Yeah, and that's right here. I didn't talk about that. But that is actually IBM Global Services who we're talking to, or Intercom who we're talking to, and having them represent our services to the enterprise. Those are the enterprise programs that we'd be putting together around here. Okay, so that's just a quick overview. You know where I live, so you can call me anytime. Donna, you have a question?
Yeah, just real quick. You were talking about Encoding.com, but I know in the past when we looked at other live events, is there going to be another provider that you're also looking at for folks that have mobility that can move from site to site? Or? Yeah,
and that would be an acquisition partner would be a Webcast Solutions who can acquire. They have vans, they are access to vans, they have all the uplink stuff and all that technology that's required. Encoding.com is more of an encoding, straight-on encoding company. We see them as that. We do not see them as an acquisition partner. So it'd be a company, an enterprise, for example, who has a lot of training content. They need to get encoded. We could subcontract that to Encoding.com and bring them in as a partner there.
Just curious, how extensive is like Webcast Solutions capabilities geographically? Do they do stuff all over the country?
They do stuff all over the world. They actually are in Europe. They actually have a presence in South Africa. And they have some Asian facilities as well, yeah. We've been pleasantly surprised by the sophistication of their organization, yeah. Enron's actually looking at an investment in them as well. So, okay? Okay, everybody can start eating again.
Thanks.